Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm actually here sitting in my home after Stella, and I can hear my husband kind of plowing us out now. So I thought I'd do our sit balls and our tracker while I was waiting for that. So I wanted to show you the sit balls or the poses. And I thought I would start by just kind of showing you some of the options on a bench I had, and that got me thinking about different poses. So I have these two benches over here behind me, and you can actually see, here, turn around again, you can actually see that I was playing around with some of the poses. Now, in this particular instance, so this is a copy that I made of the bench. Let me just edit this bench so that you can see. It actually has two poses. There's one in this corner and one in this corner. Now, the reality is I could never get the one in this corner to work. So, um, that's one thing. But I noticed that every time I sat on this bench, I was always sitting in this corner. So prior to me actually looking at sit poses and pose balls and things like that, I was always wondering, how can I get this woman to sit someplace else? So what I ended up doing was modifying the pose ball. So I'll show you how I do that in a moment, but I just wanted to show you what I ended up doing. So I'm going to edit this bench, which has its two pose balls. So if I, in fact, right click on the bench around here and sit here, I sit over in this corner. But if I right click here and sit here, I sit in the center. And if I right click, I believe, if I right click over here and sit here, then I sit over in this corner. So it's just a matter of moving things around and getting myself to that point. Now, I also want to point out, though, I didn't put this pose ball here. And look, my avatar's off the seat. So I actually made sure, I'll go back here. I actually made sure that when I chose my sit, that I was sitting on the seat. And oh my goodness, this just opened up a whole world for me. So let me show you what else I can do with this. So I have some more benches. Oh, I'm a little below the seat actually, but I can fix that. So I do have some more benches. I'm going to actually stand. That's off your screen. And let me show you if I edit this. I'll go back to editing that. Okay, but now I can go back and I can do sit here. This is how, when I had the pose balls, if I was actually too low, oh, it stopped editing. But while I was editing, I could actually just lift up my avatar. So, I'll do something with that a little bit later. I don't want to spend too much time on it. So I thought I'd show you how I use the pose balls on another bench and then modify them and things like that. So I have some more benches. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to my inventory. I have another bench. This one is the red bench. Now I took these from the garden center when I had that garden center land. Let me try that again. I don't know what I just did. I see some stairs over there, so I have to look at those stairs. But I will remove that. Okay. All right, so I have this bench. Some random stairs. Let me just get rid of these. Okay. I must have dragged those out. All right, so I have this bench, and I wanted to show you the sit poses on this bench. And actually, it's funny, I never even noticed until we started to do this particular exercise. So in this case, I'll move out of the way. There are actually two sit poses. This one is like a sofa lounge. In this one, my leg will be tucked under me. So if I click on Edit Linked, and I click on this one, I'm going to right click and sit here. So you can see, let me just move out, you can see that I'm sitting, and this is exactly what I mean, like I'm sitting, but I'm kind of sinking into the bench. It's not moving, but there is an option that would allow me to move. So maybe by doing that and then not editing, I'll actually move up. But this is kind of a neat pose, so I saved that. Now if I right click and sit over here, actually I'll stand up first. in my bench apparently. Okay, so if I right click and sit here, oh, wrong one. Actually, though, you can see, even though you didn't see it before, now you can see that I'm actually risen. And I almost have to get, it's funny because you almost have to get exactly where the sit pose is. Let me just stand. Let me edit so I can find the sit pose again. Oh. All right, so it's right about here. So if I right click, if I right click and sit here, oh, no, it's not going to do it. But here, let me click on this, edit link. All right, eventually I'll be able to show you this. Right click, sit. Okay, so then you can see that I'm able to lounge. So, you know, interestingly enough, I didn't even notice those, and I thought it was fun, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And it was pretty helpful for me to see that. So what I ended up doing was, if I wanted these sit poses, I ended up actually, as you probably saw in Dr. O'Connor's video, I'm going to stand. So just like what Dr. O'Connor did, I actually had to, and it does make sense that you have to do this or you're never going to see it again. You have to make sure you grab, by editing link, make sure you grab the pose balls. Not only do you have to change the color, you do have to change the texture because it's transparent. So even if you choose something like blank, that's okay because at least then it's a color. And then you can, well, it's blank, but then you can choose any color if you want, and you don't have to. It's not like it has to be a color, but it might be easier. Oh, it must not have chosen a color. And then it might be easier for you to, you know, see that particular pose ball. So I ended up doing that. Then I ended up unlinking, and then, sure, I want to unlink. And then I'm able to click on this object, right click on it, move it, take it, and I took it again, but I actually already have it. So I actually ended up getting, let's see if I can write the word pose here. So here was the lounge one. Here's the bench sit pose, legs crossed underneath. That was the other one. And then this recline one was interesting, and I'll show you this. It's actually what brought me to coming to show you these options. And this was the one that I just did. So, you know, just saving that pose ball, I can rename it. What was this? This was the sofa lounge. So lounge pose. And now I have it renamed, and I have it to be able to use again. So it's always fun, helpful, and it really was helpful because what I ended up doing, and I put this out here so I could remove it a little bit later, but what I ended up doing is I ended up going to the garden center. So this is the building that I added, I don't know, I lost track of time a few weeks ago, something like that. And I have chairs in the garden center. And the whole idea of the garden center, and I'm falling here, the whole idea of the garden center is for it to become almost like an outbuilding. Folks can relax, enjoy, have a conversation, etc. And you will notice that there are pose balls, and forgive the turning, I'm just trying to get you to this point. You'll notice that there are pose balls here because I have to tell you, and I really should have just snapped a picture if nothing else, but when I went to sit on these objects, actually I'll show you, I think on the table. I don't think I set up pose ball on the table. If I go and sit on the table, do you see how I'm like underneath the table? Well, I was actually like that on these chairs and sofa and things like that. So let me just stand up because that's a little awkward. Now, that led me to do several things. First of all of these objects, you can see the objects, they're all phantom objects. So what I ended up doing was, if nothing else for the table, I actually, and I'll just show you real fast because this just led to some discovery. I actually ended up taking off the phantom and making it a physical object. And the reason being is because you can see now, if I go to walk through this table, I can't walk through the table. And I didn't want to do that. I go to walk through this chair. It's still, let me just do that. It's still a phantom object. Oh, not now. Maybe this one is. Yeah, the sofa is still a phantom object, and I can still walk through it. And I wasn't even thinking about objects like that. So I just had to fix them. But the sofa, I was like underneath the sofa, the chair, I was upside down. And what I found on this chair, I didn't find it with the sofa, so I don't even know if there's a pose ball on the table. I just know because maybe it's an object, you can sit on it, but I did not see a pose ball. So what I ended up doing, this was the sofa lounge pose ball. So now if I sit here, you can see I have a nice sofa lounge going on. And on this one, if I sit here, I have a very nice lounge going on there. And so it worked out for me. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually end up in the other area. I want to show you monitoring. Hi again. So this is also at the garden center. And you can see that I added 2 lounge chairs and I added a prim. I didn't put a bottom on it. It's supposed to be a glass, but I should have put a bottom on it. But I did make it slightly transparent on the table so that you could see it as a glass. But these lounge chairs I actually originally got from Marion Island, and I never noticed the pose balls sitting in them. So that was interesting. So, you know, basically if I right click and sit on these lounges, I sit as though I'm lounging. But what I ended up doing is I wanted to show you, I'll just have to bring it up. I copied, and if I right click and edit this object, I want to make sure it's the right object. I can add, let me just make sure, oh yeah it is. I can add a new script, and then I can double click on the new script, and then just copy and paste the script. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Now it does say there's a syntax error, and only because I don't know, and maybe Dr. O'Connor can help with this. I don't know this language. I mean, I get what it's doing. It's tracking information. I was able to name it. I just don't know if I was supposed to keep this part. I don't think so. But even when I don't keep that part, there's still some kind of syntax error. It says on line 10. So all I did was enter my name here, what I wanted to call it, because that's what it said to do, but so be it. I'm able to save it. I don't know if this will work. I guess we'll find out. I'll have to test it. But I did want to show you that I'm able to hopefully track whenever someone's in the proximity of this area. And I also wanted to, I'm just going to stand for a moment in the middle of all these objects. Oh, I do want to back up there. Okay. Because I did just want to make this pose ball invisible. So I'm going to edit link. I'm going to click on that pose ball again. I'm going to go to texture and I'm going to make it transparent. You know, as it should be typically when we're looking at things. So now you don't see the pose ball, but it's so funny that I've used this lounge in other places. I never even noticed the pose ball. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. I had such a revelation with those sit poses, and I was able to change the 2 in this building, and now I think I have to run around and start changing them all. If they're too high, I can make them lower. If they're too low, I can make them higher. So I think I'm going to go to my Gothic building and do that, and maybe I'll be able to show that to you next time. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a great night.